Welcome back, fishes, folks, and friends. This is Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul. And I'm Sara.
And I'm Paul. And we do not have a guest today because we have a lot to discuss, just us. And I have notes going back like 4 episodes to discuss other things.
Can I start singing Just the Two of Us now?
Or Two of Us by the Beatles, or Just the Two of Us by Bill Withers, either one.
Or by Will Smith, the cover from the...
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Oh, treat yourself. It's pretty great.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, whichever one it is, we can't afford it.
We totally can't. That's fair. Also, in this episode, this episode is just not a small deal. It's called The Key, by the way, for those of you tuning in.
And we are really into the sprint to the finale at this point. This is episode 19, 4 episodes of the season left to go, including this one. It's just mainlining adrenaline all the way.
Mm-hmm. Like with the return of John Abruzzi.
John Abruzzi?
John Abruzzi.
My goodness. All right, Callies Index. Callies Index?
Callies Indexes.
Yeah.
Okay. The Key was written by Zach Estrin and Matt Olmstead, directed by Sergio Mimica-Gezzan. The episode aired Monday, April 24th, 2006 at 8 p.m. and drew a rating of 8.63 million viewers. Competition in the time slot. This will be familiar to those of you who are listening. It included a rerun of Wife Swap on ABC, a return of King of Queens on CBS, sorry. And
Canadian.
The Canadians aren't airing King of Queens. They don't know where Queens is. That's not true. We do.
Queens is different. Queens is different to them. Anyway, go on.
Queens includes Her Royal Highness. And Deal or No Deal on NBC.
Okay, at this point in the season, let's do a comprehensive recap because there are lots of threads to follow. After the car crash, Kellerman tries to kill Lincoln, but he is saved in the last moment by a good Samaritan. Lincoln discovers that the stranger is actually his father, who explains that he worked for the company and Lincoln is a victim of a revenge plot against him. Back at Fox River.
Does that mean he can say,
I'm your father? Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, go ahead, as you were.
Okay, back at Fox River, John Abruzzi has returned after Teabag slit his throat many episodes ago. Apparently, he has converted into a deeply religious man. He meets with Teabag. They make a truce, we think. Michael tells his partners that he needs the key to the infirmary. Later, in that same infirmary, Michael kisses finally and asks her to wait for him. Then his wife, Nika, seeks out Sara as a ruse to steal the key. Tweener is in trouble with his new celly avocado, and so he castrates his abuser.
As you
Kellerman tracks down Lincoln and his father, but the police arrive and Captain Bellick arrests Lincoln, saving him from Kellerman for a second time in one day. Veronica finds many calls from Montana on Quinn's phone. We discover that Nick Savrin is working for Abruzzi.
Right. All of that. Some other things going on the week of April 24th,
How could
2006.
something else possibly be going on at the same time? That's just so many things going on.
So many things. On April 23rd, I love this so much, magician David Copperfield was robbed at gunpoint after a performance in West Palm Beach, Florida. Of course, it was Florida. Copperfield turned out his pockets to show the criminal they were empty, only to reveal later to police there was a and his pockets were actually full of his passport, wallet, and cell phone.
This is bullshit.
Not according to our intern Drew's infallible research.
Okay.
Also, if it's not true, it should be true. So never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Fair enough.
April 21st, I imagine this is verifiable, was the 80th birthday of Her Royal Highness, Queen Elizabeth II.
Bullshit. Okay, sorry.
And on April 22nd, April 26th, a groundbreaking ceremony was held in New York City for the construction of the Freedom Tower on Ground Zero, where One World Trade Center had stood.
Also that week, on April 22nd, the NBA playoffs began, where the Miami Heat would go on to become the league champions, and Dwayne Wade was made MVP, scoring 654 points. These playoffs also marked the playoff debut of the Cleveland Cavaliers' LeBron James. And finally, on April 23rd, the first ever video was uploaded to YouTube called Me at the Zoo. The 19-second video featured the co-founder of YouTube in front of 2 elephants at the San Diego Zoo, as one does.
You know, it'll never take that newfangled technology.
No, it's a fad.
It's a fad. And with that, Here are the highlights from our watch party for The Key.
Part of the original Sara Tancredi manipulation plan was not to keep the door open. That's new. Oh, no. Oh, golly. Oh! Oh my gosh!
Wow. Holy smokes. I showed up to your execution. Does that count? Wait a second. What's up with this shank situation? I thought you shook on it.
Michael's wife that's making you fall in love with him.
Who's letting her know that I care?
Well, she loves it. I mean,
oh, wait for season 2. She 100% loves him. Ooh, Angry Pope is frightening. Oh, I really want to watch the next episode right now. My voice went up like 6 octaves.
all right. That was The Key. There were some audible gasps and exclamations, and we're going to discuss it all. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Some things to get into. Stutter acting. We talked about this during the rewatch a few episodes back. I made a note of it. Maxim magazine and Amaury. I think I know what is coming there. Sara's hair color. Paul's first time working with Dom. People's Choice Award.
Did you go to that, Paul?
No. Did you go?
I didn't, but I feel like almost all the rest of the cast did.
I remember
Like,
Wentworth being...
Dom, Amaury.
I remember Wentworth being in the bathroom, though, when...
That
right?
checked.
He was
That totally
peeing,
tracks.
and he heard his name being called.
When they announced the win.
Yes, that we won the People's Choice Awards, although not the Golden Globes, right?
No,
Okay.
we didn't win that.
All right. So
Okay, plus, I wrote
Yes.
down, I wrote down jacket, comma, Paul, car lot
Yep.
scene,
yeah.
and the ways I would change what I did in the scene with the kiss.
Okay, let's start there. First of all, actors will often, it's hard to watch yourself sometimes, and so actors will say, "Oh, I wish I had done X instead of Y." But tell us specifically what you
Well,
did there.
This is, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but sometimes I'll leave a scene at the end of the day, and I'll be like, I don't feel like it. I didn't get, something just doesn't feel right. And it was maybe a dozen years later. I had one of those wake up in the middle of the nights and go, God, that's what I wish I'd done. I wished after the kiss I had gone, holy shit, and just like fled to the other side of the room. So that then the rest of that conversation is like leaned up against the thing, like against a countertop, and Michael at his so that immediately after that intimacy, there's this distance that has to be bridged again. I don't know that the powers that be would have been excited about that read, but I feel like that big a transgression would send you flying back to the other side of the room.
Okay.
You have to agree.
I push back on that. Because
Okay, tell me why.
there is a distance. It's just not a physical distance. You feel her freak out. She lets her guard down, not just with the kiss, with the smile afterwards. And then you see her shut down. And then she says, I can't do that about waiting for you or whatever. Like, I think you played all those things. I understand what you're saying blocking wise, but
I think it puts him in a better position for me to say, I can't do this, when he is too far away to take her hand, take her face, kiss her again. Do you know what I mean? To say, I did this and now I'm taking this totally off the table.
Okay. That's a good point, but counterpoint, if he's not up in her grill or she's not up in his grill at that point, it makes his decision easier, obviously.
Right.
Because
Right.
they're there for the taking. I mean,
because this is all about, the key is right there.
It's kind of all about him, about, the man.
Thank you for clarifying. I'm sorry, I forgot which show I was on.
Yeah,
Back to you.
No. But I do mean that, the tension of that, the fact that the audience knows that there's this ticking time bomb thing also going on. But I would also
and the constant, is he going to grab the key? Is this all about the key? Yeah. That's a good point.
I would also say on its face, you are also, what's cool is that you guys are, I know that there's a privacy screen, but you guys do feel like you're also going through this pantomime of doctor patient that moving across the room, if that guy came in the room, like it would seem like something was wrong, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and we had a, you know, I was a little bit struggling with the privacy screen because at that point we're 19 episodes in. We've had all these episodes in the infirmary. There's never been a privacy screen.
It is the kind of thing that I, as a viewer.
Sorry, am I keeping you up?
Sorry, what happened? Did I yawn?
Just teasing.
It's 4 a.m. here, by the way, just so you know.
In Los Angeles, where it's currently 10:48?
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Okay, that's fine. But you're a musician, so this is like 2 a.m.
Yeah, right. The privacy screen thing as a viewer is like, I wouldn't even notice that. I would then do some weird narrative math in my head where there was always a privacy screen as opposed to never one.
Mm-hmm.
Was there one before? Oh, we just didn't see it before, but now it's, but I understand on the day where you'd be like, well, how does this make sense?
Well, and in theory, the way that Sergio kind of sold it is he was like, well, Michael has to take his shirt off in order to get the dressing changed on the burn. And it's like, sure, but, a guy with his shirt off is not something that you need privacy for in prison. But anyway, you're absolutely right that was one of those, it was early enough in my career that I'm still thinking with the logic of theater brain, which is the audience is sitting with us the entire time. They're going to catch everything as opposed to just go with it. It's TV. It's going to work. Trust me.
Well, I also think that's important. I think don't worry about it. No one's going to notice it is not a good instinct. So, I think it's always good to ask those questions, but it didn't bother me.
Well, good.
Now that I've talked you out of your opinion about I'm just kidding. The scene is
now
really...
Now you've mansplained my own scene to me.
The scene is super effective, and the kiss was surprisingly aggressive. Maybe that's not the right word. I mean, he kind of lunges at you. It's not a kind of eyes meet moment, mutual coming together. Like he just plants one on you. Yeah,
I think if I remember right, our conversation was if he telegraphs in any way this is coming,
she's going to bail.
She's going to Heisman. There will be a boundary there. What is interesting to me, it does come out of nowhere. She goes with it. She then really goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
But when he says, wait for me, she never says, you're married, bro. And
hasn't he already said that the marriage is a sham? Or it's not what you think? Or
yeah, he said it's not what you think. But, I got to say, as a woman, if a man says to me, my wife is not what you think, I'm not like, oh, cool, problem solved.
No, really? That's not
a big red flag.
Big red flag?
We have a book of red flags that we pass around to each other in girls' bathrooms.
My wife is not what my marriage is not what you think it is.
Right. Exactly. And she'd be fine with this, trust me. Yeah.
Noted. Yeah. Nope. I saved her from a sex trafficking ring. Just go with it.
No, don't do that.
But I myself am not a sex trafficker.
Right. I bought her from a sex trafficking ring.
But I am not a sex trafficker.
My intentions are completely on the up and up, I promise. Just ask her.
Yeah. How did we get on? I'll wait for you. Oh, you don't ask about that. Okay, yeah.
We don't bring it up. What I think is cool about it is that it is a scene that takes both of them by surprise. And so, whereas usually one of them is relatively in control in their interactions, doctor-patient, or, mastermind pawn, they're both back-footed. They're both like, oh, this is not going the way I thought it would. And there's something, I think, to the audience, Sara doesn't know this, but to the audience, there's something extraordinary that he chooses not to take the key from her in that moment. Because that had to have been a plan. The plan had to have been, he locks the door so that she has to take her key out to unlock the door so that it would be, out someplace that he knew where it was, in her pocket or on the table or whatever. So I don't know, just another moment of Michael's humanity overcoming his
there's a few
plan.
Things in this episode that do that. The tweener thing is definitely that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, I want to back up though to because I mean, this was the first time you'd ever worked with Dom, right? It must have been.
Mm-hmm.
And so this in some ways is like Kellerman being pulled into
The A story.
more deeply into, yeah, like you're now on the show in a different way. I don't mean on the show in a different way, but like
no, it's we do talk about it as like, oh, there's like three different shows going on. Yeah,
yeah,
it
and this
definitely
kind of
felt
brought
like,
them
oh,
together.
I'm bumping up to the. Also, it's there's a excuse me, there's a some kind of synergy between that and my wardrobe for me because I spent so much of season 2 in that jacket and jeans. So like that's the first time you see Kellerman. Well, as Owen
Not in a
Krivecki,
suit.
Right.
Right.
You see him in a different kind of businessman outfit, but this is more like.
Was it that jacket and jeans that follow you all the way to
I
season
mean,
2?
I don't know about the jeans, but it was definitely the jacket.
And were you happy with that?
Oh, I love that jacket.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
Tell me why.
I don't know. It was just cool. It felt cool. It felt like, oh, this is really good. Like it's slightly military, but it's cool. It's slightly detective, but it also just looks like a guy. I don't know. It felt very pragmatic and
But
fashionable.
still chic.
And fashionable, yeah.
Yeah.
And it just felt great. And so like for him to show up in that to come and kill him, and working with Dom was great. He was very generous. Like, I mean, I had to, and of course he was like, I was like, okay, I'm going to put these gloves over your face now. Make sure you can breathe. And he was like, don't worry about it, bro. It's going to be fine.
You absolutely can't hurt me.
Yeah, you can totally try to kill me. It's not going to work.
Small side note, not that you're not ferocious and a terror and a phenomenal specimen of masculinity, but I have been recently trying to take a few jujitsu classes alongside my kids. And my eldest is very, very good and very accomplished. And the other day we were rolling and I was like, oh my gosh, sorry. Did I hurt you? And the response was so like, oh, no, mama, no. Oh God, are we there? Where like, I say, am I going to hurt you? And they respond, do your worst.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of that with Dom. Like I remember watching him downstream in sort of season 2 in fight scenes and be like, hey, this is fine. Just don't throw me wherever, hit me. You're just like, oh, because he's indestructible, right? Like they dropped a whole set on him in season 5.
And they said that had he not been linked to Sync, he actually could have been very seriously hurt. But we will get into that.
We will get into that
in 3 years when we're doing season 5. I also wanted to mention in that scene before we move on.
Yeah.
That there's a shot of me holding the ice pack to my head. And we shot the whole thing and we were moving on. And I don't remember if we went back or not. And I didn't even look. And I was like, oh, they didn't wrap my fingers. Or I forgot to tell them to wrap my fingers. And I remember telling Sergio Mimica-Gezzan and it not going great.
Yeah.
Because you were out there, we're running out of light. The whole thing.
That's not a fix it in post moment.
No. I don't remember if we went back or not. I honestly don't remember.
I wonder if that's part of why it was actually so wide.
Could be.
Because that shot was so wide that I wouldn't.
But I don't even know who would. I mean, at that point, who would notice? Although we do notice that I have them in the junkyard and all that.
Absolutely. We had something similar in season 5. I mean, there was so much to keep track of. This show is massive, and for continuity supervisors, it's a real challenge. I remember shooting an entire scene, and we'd been running and gunning all day, so I hadn't been in a trailer. People were just, and we'd been shooting out of order, and I was like, "Oh, you guys, I've got a huge, bruise on my face that should have been in this scene."
Oh.
And there was a collective oh my God. And it was just you can't. And I think we ended up having to reshoot my coverage on it because they were just because, you shoot out of order, right? And so it's earlier in the episode, I had a clean face. Then I got punched in the face. And it's those moments that none of us do our jobs perfectly. But it's got to feel a little bit like, being a kicker at the Super Bowl. And
yes, I think it is. Because also it's one of those things where it's more than one person's job.
Mm-hmm. It's not just continuity. It is also
No,
makeup, and it
it's
is
also
also
makeup. It's
yeah.
also it's scripty. It's makeup.
And
It should be
I think
discussed
in
in a
some
production
ways,
meeting. It's first AD. It's everybody, and
and
you're
sometimes us. You know,
oh, a
like
lot of
we
times. I
are
think a lot of times
also
us. Oh yeah.
we also have to be, I think, sometimes the sort of final stop on that
Oh,
train.
100%, 100%. I
Yeah, it's
think
rugged.
that yeah, and it's kind of always amazing when so many people miss it.
Hmm. Hmm.
It just shows you how many things are going on at the same time.
And how much pressure everyone's under.
Speaking of continuity, I don't know if this goes to that, but you said something about Sarah's hair color. You said you wanted to talk about Sarah's hair color.
You asked me about it a few episodes back, and
I think in like the
I
first
mentioned
episode
it in
I asked you.
well, I'd written down something about like, oh, tell you the story, and then I keep forgetting. So for people who are listening to our watch party, I've been like, what the hell? The very brief version of it. My hair color in this show is the same color as J-Lo's hair, and here's why.
What?
Because one of the very first jobs I ever had in New York was a commercial job that for a very, it's a long story, but because of some specifics of the audition process, I ended up under contract with L'Oreal, basically because nobody else showed up. Not doing fancy stuff, doing
Oh, okay. First of all, cut that shit out.
no, but it was really true. They like dropped a breakdown at like 3 for an audition at 5 on like Labor Day weekend. And everyone was like, absolutely not. And I was like, I'll do anything. But so I ended up under contract and we did infomercials. We did product launches. And the first one I ever did was for a hair care, home hair care thing. And the hairstylist that they hired to do the hair was this extraordinary man named Oribe. And Oribe is the sexiest man I've ever seen. Sorry, present company
You're
excluded.
married,
No, they're Oribe is
and
not
I'm
straight.
sitting right here. Okay.
Oribe is not straight. He's also no longer alive. But he like, I think he was Cuban, and he had this like black pompadour, always a
Okay.
crisp white shirt, solid
Yeah, yeah.
gold Rolex, and tattoos of muscle cars. The greatest.
Wow.
He was Jennifer Lopez's hairstylist for eons. Got super famous doing it. He was a genius, and he had to color my hair for the shoot. And he said, if I color your hair Jennifer's color, I can use all these amazing extensions and all these beautiful things that you could never afford. And I was like, sure. So he just colored my hair J-Lo's color. And for the next 10 years, whenever I'd go get my roots touched up, they'd be like, you want to stick with this color? I'd be like, sure. So that's why my hair is that color.
Anyway, your hair looks beautiful, though.
Thank you. Yeah, the color of my hair right now, underneath all of that, is white hair stress.
Are you gray?
Like right along my part, there's this like Pepe Le Pew strip.
Like Susan Sontag?
And then on the, I don't really know what Susan Sontag's hair looked like.
She had a kind of what they always describe as a shock of white hair.
Yeah, mine might be more like a shock and awe. There's quite a bit of it. I keep thinking I'm going to go ahead and, by the way, I almost got a spit take out of you on that. And that
you really
made
almost
me
did.
so happy.
You almost did.
Yeah, I keep thinking I'm going to grow it out. Then I grow it out for a couple of months and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm not ready. Okay, so tell me about shooting this car lot scene because you said you learned a ton about, and tell people who Sergio was too because
Okay, so Sergio Mimica-Gezzan, who directed this episode, he came back and directed season 2, and I've trailed him. He was the first director I ever trailed. I was supposed to trail Yatanus, but I ended up being
banned from set.
Married during that week.
Oh, wow. Potato.
Yeah. And, but I trailed Sergio. He was, as you said, just he just ran a set. And he was a very nice guy. He had really only started directing recently.
Because he'd been Spielberg's first AD.
Well, we kind of all didn't know that. But Sergio really knows his way around a set and making a day.
Yeah.
And so there's a thing where Dominic and his father run down a row of cars, right? Like cars on either side. And then I run down them, and then I run down a couple more looking for them. And he would do this thing where...
Do you do the French reverse?
Is that what it's called?
The French reverse?
What's that?
Where you just turn the set around?
Yes.
Yeah, so you run from here to there, and I'll have the camera here. Now I put the camera where you were, and you go where I was.
Yep. And he would do a thing where I would run away from the camera and then just turn around and run back towards camera.
Yeah.
And then do the other thing on the other side and end up with 4 shots. And I was like, wait, really? Like, I thought I was like, pretty experienced at this point. I was like, are you sure that and he was like, yeah.
Yeah. Is this going to cut? It's 100% going to cut.
And I think what they would do is sometimes they would like move one car in or out, or like put something of a different color somewhere. And you'd never, I remember on Scooby-Doo being like, that's the same background. They just keep running by the same. And you'd never, ever notice it.
You'd never notice it.
That was fascinating and really illuminating because I was like, oh, this is much more sophisticated than you'd think. And by sophisticated, I mean simpler.
Well, and it buys you the time to spend where you want to spend it.
Exactly right.
On the scenes where you go, these actors need more time. What else do you want to talk about from the episode?
Could we just talk about Abruzzi's return real quick?
The return of John Abruzzi?
I somehow remember, it's always been in my head that it was a surprise to us that he came back too.
100%. I remember getting that script and being like...
because I remember Peter Stormare, who played John Abruzzi, saying goodbye. Is it possible that he was done and then they decided to bring him back?
That's what I thought. I thought because Peter was a pretty big star, I thought he kind of agreed to come on for a handful of episodes at the beginning. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if part of what happened is like the show blew up and his reps were like, oh no, let's get him back on it. I don't know. So I don't know if maybe the writers were like, hey, we really need this.
This is a good Olmsted Shearing question, which was this, because does he escape with them or does he go, oh my God, I can't even remember.
I think he escapes with them.
Because he's in season 2.
I think so. I think he's one of the Fox River 8.
Yeah, and then he.
Right? The Fox River 8 are, well, let's see if we can figure this out. Okay. Michael Lincoln Sucre, C Note, Teabag.
Teabag.
Haywire, Tweener.
We're
up to 7. So who's 8? Is it Abruzzi or is it? It's not Westmoreland.
Westmoreland doesn't make it.
He does not make it. I don't think Manche makes it either.
No, I think those guys go down the night of.
Yeah. So I think Abruzzi is one of the Fox River 8.
And then who is the 8?
That was 8.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Michael
Teabag, Sucre, C Note, Tweener, Abruzzi.
Wait. God, we just had this. Michael Lincoln Sucre.
Oh, Haywire,
yes. So that is 8.
Yeah. So you
got trying to name the 7 deadly dwarfs.
Got it. 7 deadly dwarves. Wow, that was a real.
Sorry.
You mean that movie? Remember that movie 7 about the serial killer of dwarves? What's in the box? Okay, I think you should tell the Maxim story.
The Maxim story, it's very short, but at a certain point in this show, many of the dudes on the show got super bloody famous, and when they were back in LA, lived a pretty amazing life where they were invited to all kinds of events, etc. And I knew that Amaury was like super plugged into all that. And one day during season 1, I heard from my publicist, which I actually did have, and I rarely do, but that Maxim magazine wanted to put me on the cover. And it was interesting because they called and they're like, listen, this is an opportunity. It will lead to other opportunities. But my initial response was, how about you fax them a copy of my Ivy League degree in feminist theory and tell them, no, thank you. And they were like, you don't need to be a dick about it. I remembered that around that time, they'd put Lucy Liu on the cover, and I'd seen her issue in like the whatever pedicure or manicure spot or I don't know, drugstore, whatever. And I was like, they took this brilliant, powerful, extraordinary, talented woman, and they turned her into a little fucking girl. And I was pissed about it. And it was really interesting. And so I was torn. I was new to the business, and I was like, I don't know. So I went to Amaury, and I was like, Poppy, what do you think about this? And his answer was immediate. He goes, no, mommy, you're not one of those girls. He's like, I've gone to the parties. I've seen that. He's like, you're not one of those girls. And don't at me for this. No shade to people who make that choice. It's totally valid. I get it. But I always wanted to be somebody who was known for the work I did, not the body I did the work in, if that makes any sense. And to not feel like in order to earn my place, I had to walk around in clothes that, God help me, if I ever had a teenage kid and I was telling them to respect themselves a little more, they would hold this up and go, yeah, what about this?
Also, I mean, I think the point you make about, and please correct me if I'm wrong, which I very well may be, is that like what you saw, like Lucy Liu posing like that, for instance, like you're also not that person. I mean, there are people that do walk around in clothes like that, and God bless them. I mean, that's how they want to move through the world. You don't.
Totally.
Right? I mean, is that part of what he was saying?
Yeah, that's not, yeah, it's just not who you are.
It's not
Sarah,
who you are.
Was his point. And I've always been grateful for it because it was a moment early in my career where I went, I don't have to take everything I'm offered, even if it's better than what I've got, quote unquote, because, look, it makes you more famous. Those are a way to get people's attention. But it was a moment, and it meant a lot to me that he was like, nope, I've got a different, I don't think this doesn't need to be your world. I still love you. I still respect you. I still value you, whatever. Anyway, so this is my brief thank you to Amaury for, I don't know, being one of the voices that helped me, kind of create my professional identity.
And he's a great guy to hear that from.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right.
All right.
Let's leave it there for now, and we'll be right back with some questions.
I agree. All right. So welcome back, everyone. Today, we've got something a little different for our fan questions. Paul, I dug up some questions from fan mail.
Oh,
from
yes.
2007. So I found a bunch of letters from international fans back in the day. I think I mentioned this earlier. And while I know I sent them an autographed photo because it was in my folder that says answered fan mail, I never responded to the questions. So I thought today, Paul, you and I could answer some of these fan questions from 2007. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's gonna be great. I did edit this down. The first questions, these are actually all from the same letter. Okay. From somebody named Simone Oman from Finland. Simone wants to know your favorite candy or snack, your favorite singer or band, and which TV show / movie are you most proud of and why? Ooh. So, Paul, should we start with your favorite candy or snack?
Yes. Candy and snacks are different things because I'm not a huge candy guy, but I would say my favorite snack is pretzels. Just love pretzels. Why does that make you laugh?
Of all the things I love about you, I hate pretzels. That's why I'm laughing, because it's like,
wow, love pretzels.
I actively hate them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Snickers would be my favorite candy, I think, which is super boring, but
I can co-sign that. No.
Yeah. Or Baby Ruth. Yeah. Okay. And then you, what are yours?
We're turning this around. Favorite snack? This is something that would change all the time, but a nice homemade popcorn with organic olive oil and sea salt and nutritional yeast and tahini.
Oh my God, I made, wait, don't put tahini, okay. I made popcorn.
Tahini's delicious on popcorn.
No, I made popcorn.
So
you know what's really good is coconut oil for popcorn is great.
You sound like you're so from LA. I will try that though. I'll try it tonight because I love popcorn.
It's because it's not sweet, but it just stays moist. Anyway, I made homemade popcorn the other night.
Don't say moist.
Love to do, sorry. It's wet. And
I quit.
It's hard to not burn popcorn when you make it at home. In a pan, in a pot.
Mm-hmm. We've got one of those spinny ones.
Yeah, I don't have that.
From Cabela's.
Yeah, I don't make that.
It's called a popcorn maker. Anyway, favorite candy. I'm kind of traditional. I'm a big fan of just a nice dark chocolate sea salt.
Oh my God, that's not candy.
Okay, well then Kit Kat.
There you go.
Does that count as candy?
That's candy.
Right. Oh, actually, you know what? No, my absolute favorite. You know those little red and black gummy raspberries with all the little things on the side, and
You're
they
like
taste
a
little
grandmother.
Yeah, you get to know me.
It's like grandma candy.
It's a Werther's original. Yeah, dude, I live like a
coffee nips.
Mother. Welcome to my world.
Okay.
Your favorite singer or band?
My favorite band is the Beatles.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, they're good.
I'm going Indigo Girls.
Oh?
Because, I'm a college lesbian, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them live a bunch of times. I love them so much. And when I was watching the Barbie movie and they had Closer to Find in there,
amazing.
I lost
amazing as a
my
runner,
squatch.
too.
Such a good runner.
Did you get
such
any
a dog
feelings?
whistle to all the old school feminists?
Yes.
It's like,
do you have a did you get into your feelings about Joni Mitchell at the Grammys and seeing all that?
I mean, because I live like a retired person, I didn't know that the Grammys were on.
Okay,
I saw the performance later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's, oh God. Yeah, all hail. She's astonishing.
And a Canadian.
Also, yeah, I live in Canada, so she's literally on our stamps. Yeah. Which TV show / movie are you most proud of and why?
I'm gonna go with The Menu, which is a movie I did like 2 years ago.
Oh, I love that one.
Because it was such, I'd missed being in an ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole team theater thing, and it really felt the way that it was shot and just the nature of the thing was all these people in one room, and I got to work with so many actors whom I've loved for so long, and it's always fun to kind of feel like, oh, playing with the all-stars now. Can I hang?
Who was the woman that you had all your
Janet
table
McTeer.
with? Yeah, McTeer, like one of the greatest actors.
One of the great actors. Yeah,
astonishing. I saw her live on stage.
Oh, you did?
In '97, playing Hedda Gabler.
Oh, yeah.
In London. She was one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
She's a genius.
She's a genius. And so I'm very proud of that of late. And also, I love how the movie turned out. I love Mark Mylod, who directed it. And
amazing. Council Dads. Most meaningful thing I've ever done. Also, arguably the least successful.
Because of content, because of experience, because of the work you were asked to do.
All of it. The Tony and Joan are two of my favorite showrunners ever. They created such a beautiful set. The cast are to this day some of my closest friends.
Mm-hmm.
We were telling a story about an 8-year-old, not about, but including an 8-year-old trans boy played by an 8-year-old trans boy that had never been done before. That meant the world. It just so we shot in Savannah, which is also where you shot The Menu, right?
Yes, it is.
Which is such a great city.
I see a pattern, yeah.
So good. Okay, so Simone Oman from Finland, I appreciate your patience while we got these questions answered all these years later. If you are out there and listening.
Yes, Simone. If anyone knows Simone Oman from Finland.
Yeah, and by that way, that's O with umlauts, HMAN. I apologize if that is not how you say your name. I don't speak a word of Finnish. So if you're listening, let us know. Drop us a DM on our @Prison Break Podcast, IG. That's our handle, @Prison Break Podcast. Or you can email us at pbpodcast@caliber-studio.com. We would really love to hear from you.
And that, speaking of Finnish, is the finish of our show.
Stop.
Yes. Friends, folks, and fishes. So much alliteration. Thank you for listening. Don't forget you can subscribe to the Watch Party apps on the Patreon link on our show page, wherever you're listening right now. This week's calling question: what, in your opinion, is the biggest betrayal in the first season of the show? A lot to pick from. Let us know your thoughts. You can call us with that answer at 401-3-PBREAK. That's 401-3-PBREAK.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye.
Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul is a Caliber Studio production. Your hosts have been friends, but not besties, Sarah Wayne Callies and Paul Adelstein. Our prison warden has been producer Ben Haber. Our head of Jailhouse Rock is Paul Adelstein, who made the music for this podcast. Keeping us slim and trim in the prison yard has been sound designer and editor, the great Jeff Schmidt. Keeping us up to date on the outside world is production assistant Drew Austin. Our prison artist, logo, and brand designer is John Nunziato and Little Big Brands. Check them out at www.littlebigBrands.com. Follow us on Instagram @Prison Break Podcast. Email us at prisonbreaking@caliber-studio.com and call us at 401-3-PBREAK. Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul has been a Caliber Studio production. Thank you for listening.